despite what I've already said, the native speaker is still safely ensconced in a lofty position of unassailable authority and absolute infallibility, as Rajagopalan put it much more eloquently than I could have ever put it. So, if you remember, we're going in threes, right? So the second assumption here was that all native speakers are at C2 level on the Common European Framework. That's the highest possible level of proficiency, or even beyond that, you see? As some people would say, when I argue with them on the internet, they say like, no, Marek, C2 level is not enough for non-native speakers. As a native speaker, I'm beyond that, in that uncharted territory where no non-native speaker can ever get to. So, what I thought was to look at the results of IELTS exam. I'm not choosing this exam because IELTS pays me to talk about their exam. I'm choosing it because I think it's a good example of an exam that's done worldwide, that is taken by thousands of students every day, kind of like the TOEFL is, and it's a very important exam that people take for visa reasons, to be able to study in a university, to teach English sometimes. So I thought, okay, let's look at IELTS statistics, okay? And I don't know if you're familiar with IELTS, but the scores go from 1 is the very bottom, and 9 is the C2 level. That's the highest possible level. So I've got a question to you. What do you think was the average score in 2015 on IELTS of test takers from the US? What was their average score from 1 to 9? It was 6. Even on speaking, it was just slightly better. It was 6.3. Test takers from Greece scored an average of 7. Test takers from Germany, 7.5. But you might be thinking to yourself, okay, you know, those test takers from the US, maybe they weren't real native speakers, you know, maybe they were immigrants, or, you know, there's lots of immigration in the US, so maybe they aren't actually native English speakers. That's a fair objection, and I'm well prepared for that objection. So let's now look at the results, the same test, same year, 2015, test takers who declared that the first language was English, so native English speakers. What was their average score? 6.5. So slightly better than the test takers from the US, but not great either, to be honest. That's like your B2 level, or upper intermediate, more or less. Test takers from Poland, Romania, Germany, they all had a higher score. So to sum up, the highest level on IELTS is 9. That's the C2 level. That's a level at which somebody like myself, a non-native speaker, is granted the honorary title of being native-like, you see? But don't get ahead of yourself, Marek, you aren't a native speaker, you are native-like, you see? But what do you think was the percent of native English speakers who scored a 9 on IELTS in 2015? 100, 90, 50? What do you think? 1%. It was 1%. 46% scored 6.5 or below. Okay? So, what I'm trying to say here is that no, not all native speakers are on C2 level or beyond that. Some of them are, but not all of them. So I think we really have to bury this myth of native speaker superiority when it comes to proficiency. We have to bury it because it's simply not borne out by evidence. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, you know, IELTS is just a test, right? It's not perfect, and it wasn't designed for native speakers. It was designed for non-native speakers, so these results, oh, you know, they aren't very valid. I agree with you. IELTS is just a test. Like any other test, it isn't perfect. However, by saying that, I think you're simply moving the goalposts in the middle of the game. Because think about it. If IELTS is good enough for people like myself, for non-native speakers, if it's good enough for us, We have to countlessly, every single day, prove that we are proficient enough to travel, to get visas, to study in a university, to teach English, to do what we want to do. Why wouldn't it be good enough for native speakers? So I really think that we need to rethink this idea that all native speakers are always more proficient than non-native speakers.
To stay up to date, follow TEFL Equity on social media. We're on Twitter at TEFL Equity, on Google+, on YouTube, and on Facebook. You can also visit the website for free resources such as lesson plans, webinars, and blog posts. And you can also support the campaign for equal professional and employment opportunities for native and non-native speakers.